Hey, what about nice hardcore proof that you're being lied to like a dog? So I've got screenshots before this video comes out that I post right now. So if someone decides to change things, I've got the original. I'll remind people that don't know that about a month ago when the Nikkor 10514 came out, one of the people that works for Nikon, who is a Nikon ambassador, posted some image samples. I made a video complaining about all the images that were out there. Not about the photographer, okay, not about the composition, but the fact that the lens is horrible. And I have hundreds and hundreds of witnesses to this fact, and I even announced like an emergency live stream, and like everybody else witnessed it. So we were watching it in the. I'm going to get the important part of what I just realized today. That then this person realized all these people were commenting like these images are, they're really flat, really washed out, and it's just, the image clarity, the depth, the color saturation, the bokeh is just miserable. So this person who's an ambassador for Nikon removed those images and did a switcheroo with extremely heavily edited pictures that looked pretty good. The composition was nice, and it was like an old man and a little baby girl, I think. And that's fine. No, it's not. You work for Nikon and you do a switcheroo on the images, everybody caught wind of that. So they all commented. They didn't say rude things. It's like, you did a switcheroo on the images. So I don't know if that person talked to Nikon. They might have said, here's my imagination of the conversation. It's like, just put both images back up. And that's what happened. So the originals were there, which looked horrible. Not the composition, not the skills of the photographer, just what the lens produced was just horrible, And no matter how good a photographer you are, you can't yank on cow's tits and get out wine, It's just like you can sit there and yank on cow tits, but wine is never going to come out. So no matter how good a photographer you are, if the lens spits out that, that's what you get. So we all caught, so I have hundreds of witnesses to that fact. I just noticed that the Flickr group for the F10514, the banner page at the top, if they switch this, I've got the screenshots, in other words, the banner for this lens is the very, very heavily manipulated picture. It's a hardcore fact. How do I have the fact? Because now both images are up. And on the left eye, the original image, there's a couple hairs that cross each other like an X that are basically invisible. You could kind of tell that they're there, but the heavily edited one, to give it depth, perceived depth into the images, it wasn't contrast or clarity. They were actually drawn in. In other words, you could see the faint place of where they were, and the person drew which is fine. But that's not what the lens spit out, okay? Through the magic of Lightroom and or Photoshop, yank on cow's tits, you got milk, which of course is not wine, processed it really heavily through Lightroom and or Photoshop, which this person that works for Nikon admitted to, okay? But that is now the banner page for the Flickr group for this damn lens. So the common idiot wandering into this room, doop-da-doop-da-doop, I like to see what this lens produces. Doop-da-doop-da-doop, oh wow, that looks pretty good. No! That is not what that lens produced. That is what every lens box that I have does not include Photoshop and Lightroom. Do you feel me on that one, huh? Here's another example. Over on the Evil Diaper and Pee review, someone was really honest. Okay, they posted some decent looking pictures. And the person says the images are available for download. They have been edited and enhanced in Lightroom, so consider these examples of how the images could look. And these are exact words. How the images could look like when done with his English isn't perfect. That's because I think he's Danish, I believe this person is. How they could look when done with post-processing. So he posts like 5 lovely pictures, and this person actually it's not the person, it's not the photographer. He says, these are how the images could look when done with post-processing. Well, isn't that special? Nobody buys a lens It's like, I'm going to buy this lens because, even though it makes milk, I could kind of make it look like wine if I stick it here in the computer and screw with it and molest the hell out of it in Lightroom and Photoshop. Nobody ever buys a lens with that thought in mind, and certainly not a photographer that's like, oh my god, here's the Flickr page for this lens, those images look so good, I'm going to go buy this lens. No, that is not what that lens produced. Need to explicitly state that. People don't have to state that on their Flickr page, but if you are working for Nikon, you need to state that. I have hundreds and hundreds of witnesses when this person switcherooed the images, totally removed the originals, and put up the really heavily edited ones, which they looked, color saturation, even nose hair was removed. So, obviously that's just not simple sliders. When you blow it up to 500%, you remove nose hairs and, draw in some eyebrow hairs, some really sharp. When you draw in sharp eyebrow hairs, when you zoom out to 100%, it makes the image look like it has depth. So this person that works for Nikon added really sharp eyebrow hairs, and I have hundreds of witnesses to this fact. Hundreds of witnesses. And what that does is when you look at the image, it's like, wow, that's got some interesting depth. It looks perceptually deep. People talk, well, what about depth? It's two-dimensional. Oh, a hologram. I have some hardcore professional holograms. Most of you have never seen a professional hologram. That image is also two-dimensional, but when you look at it, you're like, wow, crap, that is so deep. It's not because it's two-dimensional or not two-dimensional. Obviously, it's a two-dimensional image. It's the way the human brain and the psychology works. So the banner page for the Flickr of this lens is a lie. It's like, here's the banner for the Nikkor 105 f1.4. The banner is a hardcore lie. The banner represents an image that was extremely heavily edited in Photoshop and Lightroom, which is fine. But you don't show that as the banner. That is like saying, we sell Fuji X-T, you show a shiny new Fuji X-T2 on the front of on the outside. It's like, this is what you're going to be stepping in and buying. But then when you walk in, you have to buy it sight unseen. This is what it is. And then you take it home, you realize it's like a beat-up X-T2 that someone has, it's like, wow, that's not what I saw, I saw this, but, this is what I got. That is pure deception. When you front a lens as producing this, and you make that the banner of the Flickr page, this is the Flickr page for the f1.05, f1.4, as a heavily, very, very heavily edited picture, then you are deceiving people. That is pure effing deception. Flat out, undeniable, irrefutable. I have the proof. And when that situation happened a month ago, I had hundreds of witnesses. Hundreds of witnesses. We saw it going on. People were leaving comments. They weren't rude. It's like, man, you did a switcheroo on this. The person who works for Nikon, he removed all those comments. And then they post the comments again, and they removed all the comments again. If you want to say, and eventually that's what happened. Now both images are up, okay? The original and the heavily edited one. It was probably a discussion that Nikon had. Said, hey, people are chirping about this because you did a switcheroo of the original image with a heavily edited one. So just put both of them up, which is where it is now. But now the heavily edited picture is the banner of the Flickr page. That, my dear friends, is deception. Deception. Flat out. The banner page should have a disclaimer at the bottom. This is a heavily edited image. Oh, okay, so that's not what the lens made. That's what the person made in Photoshop and Lightroom. That is not what the lens made. You're going to have to make a decision. If you buy a lens based upon a heavily edited image, you need to realize that someone's been squeezing cow tits, getting milk, processing it through Lightroom and Photoshop to the point where it actually produced wine, okay? It's like, I don't know, what am I buying? Am I buying a lens that makes cow's milk, or am I buying a lens that if it makes an image I need to crunch some hardcore sliders and other things in Photoshop and Lightroom, to make it wine? My idea, and call me crazy, is that I like a lens. This is a revelation. I like a lens that makes wine on the SD card or compact flash card. Am I crazy in thinking that? I might be crazy. Let me see. I can either get a wine that's like squeezing on cow tits that makes milk, and I can like spend a lot of time turning it into wine in Lightroom and Photoshop. Or, since I have enormous amounts of experience with lenses, old and new, expensive and not expensive, I'll choose the lens that actually makes the closest thing to wine or wine itself directly on the SD card. Because time is money! And those heavily edited shots, even if you got mad skills in Lightroom and Photoshop, they were so heavily edited that I know for a hardcore undeniable fact that significant time was taken to edit those shots. Significant time. Even if you got mad skills, like, wow, man, I'm the master of Lightroom and Photoshop. That still took some significant time. So, the proof is irrefutable. If you want links, you want screenshots, let me know. I have it. So if someone decides to do a switcheroo after I upload this video, you know, what are they going to do? I've already grabbed the screenshots. You make up your mind. Do you like being lied to? I don't. I don't like being lied to. Good one. Bye.